to me, if hempcrete as a opportunity or education is given to the right person, it really can kind of like inspire people that are interested in natural alternatives into healthy. Going from agriculture to construction to consumables, it's all over the place. So it can really, every time I talk about hempcrete, people's eyes light up, or just hemp in general that have never been exposed to it. So it definitely, it happened to me, and I think it's now having a ripple effect. Grandmother, she in 2015 went over to Laos and Cambodia, and not on a trip geared towards hempcrete, but she came back with stories of hempcrete buildings in Southeast Asia that had been standing for several hundred years. It piqued her interest while she was there, like, what's this building over here? Because she lives in Santa Fe, so she's used to the adobe style buildings. So when she saw the it's kind of same material aesthetic, she inquired on it and learned that it was hempcrete. And so when she came back to the United States, then she told me about hempcrete as a viable building material, and just how special this for the construction industry is, and the wider industry as a whole. And so from there, it piqued my interest because I've kind of loved and admired my grandmother all my life. And so whenever she has an idea, I like to dive in as well. The locals that she was talking to mentioned that the life and the duration of hempcrete buildings there were hundreds of years old. They didn't say exactly how old, but it's rare to find buildings nowadays in the United States and Europe where they have been around, unless they're from the ancient Roman period or they're made of stone or something. But so that is what really kind of got me excited. So then I just, for a few years, was just peripherally involved in it, sort of like paying attention to it on social media channels. And then in 2018, I decided to look into it when I moved from Wisconsin, which is where I am from originally. Went from Wisconsin over to Colorado. And that's when I decided to kind of take control into my own hands and look into it. My dad and I got involved because I told my dad about this because he's an architect. And so he's been building with all sorts of materials his entire life, and he's in his 60s now. So he thought it was interesting as well. So we drive up to Fort Collins from Denver and go into this workshop for 2 or 3 days and meet some people in the field. And so that's really where I started getting a hands-on experience with hempcrete. I wasn't working in blue collar anything. I was working in events and nonprofits in Denver, TEDx Mile High. So I was doing a lot of TED Talks coordination for a while. And then when COVID happened, events took a nosedive, and all of a sudden, no one was putting on in-person events anymore. And so a lot of people in our industry lost their jobs, including me. And that's when I decided, okay, now it's time to get serious and start learning carpentry, construction, how to build something, how to use power tools, how to actually make this come to fruition and not just kind of have it live in my memory and as a pipe dream. So I started working for manufacturing company that did floors and walls and kind of learning framing and construction. Then I started working for a general contractor. So I started learning remodeling and renovations, all the while having this kind of through line curiosity around green building and sustainable alternatives, and trying to incorporate hempcrete into these buildings. And what I noticed is that the established general contractors are very difficult to convince to try to use an alternative material. And that's right. That's not just hempcrete. And I was like, I'm coming to you with this awesome idea, and they would jump on it, and they never did. They thought it was interesting, but it was not worth kind of taking on hempcrete building projects. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do this on my own. That took about 3 years of learning construction in general. And then opportunities started coming up because I stayed active in the hemp building community, where I met Phelan Dalton, who runs Hemp Building Co. And he was looking for some extra hands needed on certain builds. And so that's when I helped out with the house in Howard, Colorado, with Talus and Larry. And then I helped Phelan over at the Levada project when they were building the garage. So this was all the summer of 2022. So that's when I really actually got some hands-on building experience working with Phelan and some other hempcrete builders in the state. And so that's where it really kind of took off. But that said, it never got me to a point where I could live off the money earned from hempcrete builds. And so I kept going, working for general contractors just to keep the lights on and pay the bills and keep the hempcrete journey and dream alive. But I will say that it is a difficult journey to transfer from a non-construction field into hempcrete. And so that's why I kind of took up learning carpentry, learning construction, everything that I've been working in, and to kind of like pay the bills is in service to the hempcrete building dream. And so it's not an easy progression into that, because a lot of people think they can kind of jump into the hemp building world, but there's a lot of skills that take place. And then there's building codes and project management and dealing with subcontractors. And so Phelan is, for instance, is a mentor in many ways, but he's kind of operating like a subcontractor, whereas I want to be the general contractor and own every piece to building a home. And to become a general contractor takes a lot of years of knowledge, and I'm working off like 4 or 5 years. And these guys sometimes have 20, 30 years of construction background. So it's a big step into that direction. And so there's going to be a lot of missteps along the way, and you're going to fail a few times, but to me, it's all in service of this dream of building hempcrete. And it's a slow crawl, but I think if me personally, I feel very inspired every day when people like you are kind of keeping the network alive and thriving and growing. And it's really inspiring to see that. And so even over the years, the energy doesn't really die down. It's still there, whether it's dormant or it's very much intense and alive. That's what excites me the most about the future. And so that's why I'm kind of staying true to my values and working towards this dream.